the meantime, I think while we wait for James to return, I think we're going to have a short chat among judges. And maybe I'll start with Suzuki-san sitting over there.
Okay.
So I think we had different kind of, presenters with different styles and perhaps different levels of sophistication. So if you've seen a lot of startup pitches, if you were to give advice, what would be some of the constructive advice to presenters today and perhaps potential future presenters who might be sitting here in the audience?
Yeah, so basically maybe you just have a very short period of time, like maybe, in this, maybe today, so they just have maybe 4 minutes, right, for the presentation, maybe. So it's maybe generally hard for them to maybe explain about maybe details of their technology or services. So maybe it might be a good idea to maybe use like a video, which might maybe gives audience maybe more specific maybe understanding of the maybe technology or services. That's my
That's
advice.
true. I think a couple of services I still don't know what they do, so I think it would have helped.
Yeah.
Okay, so James, who just heroically returned from bathroom, I just wanted to see if you have any advice to, today's presenters, but also any future presenters who might be sitting here in the audience in terms of doing pitches. I'm sure you've sat through more pitches than most of us here.
I guess 2 pieces of advice. One is I feel like I want to cut to the chase about traction. Because all these ideas are great, but execution is everything, to throw out a cliche. And then another thing is...
But can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I think on the traction, I think really bad trend started with YCon. I think about 3-4 years ago, all the YCon presentations had almost exactly 40% month-to-month growth on baseline of unknown. And I think that kind of created bad trend that everybody has some kind of a fishy,
yeah,
unsound numbers behind their traction. So
using
how do you
registered users instead of
with often like x-axis or y-axis often unlabeled. So I have no idea what that really means.
Right,
so,
you got to sign an NDA before you can get that number.
So what do you actually recommend for traction for startups? Maybe they don't still have great numbers, but what gives you at least some honest feel and at least enough information that you can get the feel for startups traction?
It really depends on the startup, actually. So, for example, I can't remember the name. It was a long name. The one with the was the scan to order a taxi. What was the name of it? Spiral. COVID Spiral. So in that case, I wanted to know. Okay, it sounded like it was very early. But it would have been interesting to hear, okay, they're thinking about rolling it out in 100 hotels or something like that. Like it's something a little bit more
specific number.
Specific,
I wanted to know how many of those little devices are out there in the field.
Exactly. Right. So cut to the chase about those specific numbers. And then the other thing I wanted to get to is the team. I feel like a lot of times in these pitches, like we kind of focus on the idea, but when it comes to pitching investors, like we really just want to know, okay, is this also a good team to execute on this vision? Right, and I feel like that's also missing a lot in a lot of these pitches that I've seen recently.
Thanks, James. So maybe I'll ask a maybe different kind of question. So I think most of the people actually here are investors themselves. So maybe I'll start here with Mashita-san. So when you're actually looking at those pitches, what you're looking for? And did you actually find what you're looking for in most of the presentation? So what do you look for when you listen to these kind of pitches, Mashita-san?
Well, because it's such a short time period, and then the number of the attractive points should be limited. So basically, I'm not expecting too much details. So basically, the very first looks like the atmosphere of the entrepreneurs, and then what he's doing it, like what he's trying to disrupt it. Whatever. So, and then what's the vision, what the motivation. So maybe the first 15 seconds, 20 seconds, I like to listen, the attitude and then the way of thinking of the entrepreneurs, because he's a guy who's making this happen. The number 2 is, of course, what's the business chances, right? If it can be scalable, and then that opportunity or possibility of scalability maybe attract me. So that's the second point. The third point is, of course, if they started already some products or services, and the first traction situation, that some small number is okay, but what they learn from those numbers, what they learn from initial activities, if they show us, how they feel and how they think, and then I can easily imagine, oh, he can be very smart guy, or he can maybe analyze those initial situations, then he can expand something more. So I'd like to listen a little bit
Small
more.
numbers are okay.
Okay, but what they can learn, what they have learned. So as long as I can understand, at least I can feel like, oh, this guy is quite smart, and then analyzing appropriately something. And then finally, the last moment is, of course, some sort of how can I say, atmosphere, aura, finally, like a guts, finally, and I'm gonna change the world or something like that. So I need need to get some power like that.
Did you feel that power from some of the presenters
well,
today?
they're very smart people. So and then they smartly, they finish their presentation like a very smart way. But it's okay. But sometimes, for example, the couple of times, 2 times ago, like a batch, a Y Combinator, like a tech in Asia, that William said, I'm gonna be in on the west side, and then Asia is #1, blah blah. And then most of the US people just stay calm, but most of the Asian people are like, oh, this guy is making something in Asia. So right after his presentation, I went to him, and definitely there's any conditions fine, but I'm gonna invest you, so I'm gonna support you.
Just because of the attitude?
Yeah, that was one example.
Okay,
yes.
so if you have a good attitude, he's the investor you should talk. Okay, Kaneko-san. So what do you look for?
Yeah, of course we see market or the entrepreneur, the passion, etc., etc. But simply this kind of short time of presentation, I want to see what they do and what they can do. I think that's very simple answer for me.
Meaning their product or service?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So maybe, do we still have more time? Okay. Maybe I'll ask actually 2 of the other judges here. In terms of today's presentations, did you actually learn anything new that you didn't know? So maybe, Hogil, you can start first. Sorry to put you on the spot, but think of something. I'm actually testing how quickly those judges can react to unexpected questions.
Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot because there are many actually competitors that are doing the same thing, that these startups today actually are doing. So, but all of them has different approach. I think again, I just today reconfirmed that everyone has a different type of approach, and there might be wrong. Their approaches can be wrong or right, but I see a lot of different type of approaches, and I'm really happy to know what approach is actually working in the future in each industry or each vertical. So I'm every time I come to the pitching event or any kind of conference or any kind of event, I'm always happy to see these different types of approaches and then different types of ideas or ways of thinking and ways of recognizing these needs or solutions or problems all over the world. So I'm happy to be here today. I learned a lot in that sense.
Okay, you said a whole bunch of nice things, but you still didn't tell me what you learned, what new thing you learned today. Do you need more time? Then if so, I'm going to ask Sasamoto-san the same question.
I mean,
did you learn anything new today?
Of course, I mean.
And don't tell me the world is beautiful. I know that.
Well, I've been seeing a lot of like startups in US mainly, and then I've seen like a lot of startups here today, like from like China or Japan or something. So I'm kind of surprised that in US like a lot of startups are like looking for the competitors first, and then like thinking about like what is the differentiation compared with other competitors, and then sometimes they hesitated to get in the very red ocean like industry. But I don't know. I feel like like a lot of startups today are like just getting in the industry, and they believe their vision, and they believe that they're like the strengths to compete with incumbent like strong players. So that kind of boldness is really important, and that kind of boldness that actually come from like some place other than US. So I try to looking for like other places as well.
Okay, thank you.
Last
And
question.
I don't have last question, but I think actually that my personal, very stupid advice to some of the presenters. I think we had quite a few companies today. I still can't remember the name because it's so complex or so unusual spelling of the word. And yes, there was a short time in history, like, I think Flickr was partly blamed to use funky spelling. But I think now, most of the actually startup I see, even in China, going for very simple names. And that's sometimes very difficult to trademark and find domains. But I think sometimes actually those things are important because at the end of the day, you want people to remember who you are. And I think actually naming is also a small part of that. So that's my least probably from investment point of view insignificant comment. But I think we believe that we have the final score. So get me back to you.
We do. Thank you guys for letting me tally the scores up. All right, here we go. We're gonna go third place, second place, and then first place. So third place, the winner of a $20,000 investment prize goes to Inamed. All right, second place, and the winner of a $30,000 investment prize goes to Travel Flan. All right, here we go. First place, the winner of a $50,000 investment prize, a free trip to Silicon Valley to compete for an additional $250,000, and a 3-day boot camp with Google goes to, drum roll, Pulse.